Jiddu, I need to tell you a secret. I had an exam today and I cheated on the exam, and to be honest, I feel like it's eating me up inside as if it's haram.
Your father used to do the exact something and would always get in trouble. But you have done it now and cannot go back. I don't know if it is haram. Khair inshallah.
Thanks, Jiddu. Jiddu, I wanted to ask if it's halal to buy lottery tickets. They're so cheap and we could make a lot of money.
I don't know if it is halal or haram, but never think about something like that again.
Okay, I was just asking. Jiddu,
تعبتني. What do you want now?
I just wanted to ask if Sweet's beef gelatin is halal or haram.
You're supposed to check it before buying it, not after. I don't know if this is halal or haram.
Okay.
What now? I am trying to relax. Why do you keep asking me? تعال هنا الخاطر الله. Just go watch Ahkam SOS. Any question you have, they can answer you. You can call them, message them, anything. Ask as much as you like. They can answer any question from any marja, okay?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. This is a live show and we're taking your live questions. So if you have a question you'd like to send in, please send it via the WhatsApp. The number's there on the bottom, the QR code's there in the corner. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, you can send it in via the comment section. If you want to call in 0203 515 0199, and inshallah we'll be able to take your call and answer your query. Before we begin, over the weekend, we were commemorating the tragic martyrdom of Lady Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha, the leader of the women of heaven, the mother of the Imams, some may argue, and also the beloved of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam. I pray that all of your azah and all of your commemorations are accepted, and also we send our condolences to the Muslim Ummah and also to the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his reappearance, on the tragic martyrdom of his grandmother. Inshallah, to discuss more is Sheikh Ali Ma'ar. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Condolences, Sheikhna.
Adamallah ujurakum.
Adamallah ujurakum. Before we begin, Sheikhna, any words on Fatima Zahra, assalamu alayha, or her life and then her legacy?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Indeed, it's a great tragedy, the shahada of the best lady of heaven and the best lady of light and the best woman of the world. A great event that we have in the hadith that the Imam says فإنه أصل يوم العذاب, the origin of the day of the torture of the adab on Ahl Bayt was this day, which paved the way towards the killing of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi, Imam al-Hasan, and Ashura as well, and the rest of Ahl Bayt. So it allowed the tyrants to basically to insult, to provoke this holy household of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. We have a hadith with this regard that some could ask the question about where the Fatima salamullah alayha grave is being placed, or where is she buried. Now we have a hadith from Kitab al-Kafi al-Sharif. A man asks Imam al-Rida alayhi salam with this regard about the whereabouts of the grave of Fatima alayhi salam. Of course, this is something that she wanted to be kept secret, and hidden from her enemies, not to be known her exact spot of the grave in Medina. Imam Rida alayhi salam gives a glimpse about where the grave is, but still we cannot define exactly where it is. So the Imam salamullah alayhi says, دفنت في بيتها, that she was buried in her house. فلما زادت بنو أمية في المسجد صارت في المسجد. So when Bani Umayyah expanded the building of the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, they expanded they rebuilt the masjid, it became part of the masjid. Now, where is the house of Fatima alayhi salam? We don't know exactly where. But it seems to be it's within the haram of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's somewhere that was still it's been kept secret. We don't know exactly the spot of the grave. It's a 1.5 meter by half a meter grave. We can't really define exactly where. And this shows the madlumi of Fatima alayhi salam, that even her grave is not known by people, even by the mu'mineen, by the believers. And she didn't want the tyrants to come and to pray on her janazah and to basically visit her grave because of what they did to her, salamullah alayha, or the oppression, anxiety, attack, fatal wounds, and so forth. So it will remain secret, maybe till the time of the dhuhr of the Imam salamullah alayhi, or even till the Day of Judgment. Allah knows when this will be known to people about her grave, so people can actually be blessed by visiting the grave of Fatima alayhi salam, inshallah, with the Imam salam.
Inshallah. We pray to the Imam of our time, inshallah, that Allah hastens his prayers, and also, inshallah, for so many of our mysteries to be revealed, inshallah. Just a quick reminder to all our viewers that this is a live show. We do take in all of your questions, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask the Sheikh, and it can be on any topic whatsoever. It can be on traveling, it can be on marriage, business. We have questions on khums, on sadaqah. We have it on fasting, ghusl. So many different topics. Any question in regards to any Islamic law, please send them in via the WhatsApp. The QR code is there in the corner. The WhatsApp number is there on the bottom. If you'd like to call in, 0203 515 0199. If you're in the UK, if you're outside the UK, call the WhatsApp number. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, just put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, me and Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your question. Sheikhna, shall we begin?
Bismillah.
Bismillah. The first question from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. And they say it, alaikum salam. Is it permissible to touch a translation of the Quran that has got, as well as the original Arabic text, without wudu? Okay. Are we allowed to touch the translation? So I guess there's a page, there'll be a column in Arabic and then a column in another language. Can we touch that without wudu?
Well, of course, the Arabic, you cannot touch it. The original Arabic text of the Holy Quran.
That's the ink.
You can't touch it without wudu or being purified from hayd or janaba. You have to be purified and tahir to be able to touch it. And even if you don't have wudu, you have to have the wudu purity. So can you touch? You can touch these verses in Arabic. For the English, some ulama would say that you can't touch even the Allah's names translated like gardens and so forth. Some, not all of them.
Yeah. Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it permissible to pray Salat al-Eid on Eid al-Ghadir?
In terms of the Salatul Eid on the day of Ghadir, again, different opinions. Some would not accept it. Some, like Ayatollah Shirazi, would say that no, you can, it's mustahab, you can pray Salatul Eid on the day of Ghadir, according to his findings and conclusion from the narrations, that you still can pray it because it's part of the A'yad al-Arba'a, the main Eids, famous Eids of Adha and Fitr. So you can pray, but others may have an issue with it.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. If an elder child has committed a major sin before puberty, balugh, are they held accountable?
You see, we have an age time or limit called discerning age.
Where they know between right and wrong.
Although in terms of the ahkam al-wajib or the muharramat would be counted on the one who is baligh. But anyhow, one should repent to Allah Azza wa Jal, the istighfar in overall. Sometimes you're 10, 12, you're not baligh, but you're aware that this is a haram act, for example. So one should ask Allah Azza wa Jal forgiveness and istighfar at all times. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do istighfar without committing any sin. Asking Allah Azza wa Jal forgiveness is something good. To bring us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it allowed to trade 50 pounds of Spanish rice for 50 pounds of Indian rice? Sheikhna, it's not mentioned if it's 50 pounds of weight or 50 pounds of money, pound sterling. So I'm not sure what they're saying here. But 50 pounds of Spanish rice for 50 pounds of Indian rice.
Where it becomes a haram transaction when you have difference in the weight. So if it's 51 pounds, with 50, you'll have that 1 pound of weight or kilogram or libra would be riba, usually. So that's the problem.
I see.
In terms of the weight when it comes to the issue of difference in weight. So let's say I have 10 kilograms of Indian basmati rice with, 12 kilograms of normal, let's say, Pakistani rice, normal, half grain. That, when you exchange them, that 2 kilogram extra is riba. Haram.
I see.
Yeah.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I have a brother who is intoxicated with drugs and the dunya and has left all goodness behind. With the tears of his mother don't affect him. How can I bring him back on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Well, initially you have to seek medical experts with this regard. It could be that this person needs medical care. So that's number one. Maybe treatment, medication, and so forth. And secondly, lots of advice, admonishment. Maybe the best way is to bring him to the majalis of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, to du'a kumail majalis, weekly majalis. If you can, take him to ziyarah, Arba'in, for example, Muharram. Other occasions, Umrah, if he can do the Amal, for example. Basically, ziyarah would be an easier way to do so. And talk to him.
Fair.
So like a mentor.
Inshallah. From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. How can I stop my deen from wavering and keep it steadfast?
Taqwa Allah Azza wa Jal, as Allah says in the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that taqwa, piety, observing piety, would open the gates towards all types of goodness in this world and hereafter. If you're a muttaqi, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, the one who observes piety, Allah would open a gate for him, makhraj, an opening gate, a pathway towards وَيَرْزُقُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Allah would sustain him, give him rizq from where he doesn't even know. And the rizq doesn't mean just to get money. Sometimes the rizq is a good wife, or the opposite, the good husband. It could be knowledge. It could be good health, and so forth. So taqwa is very important. Which, in other words, observe the wajib and leave the haram. That's it. That's all Allah wants from us, from the ibad. To observe all the wajibat and leave the haram.
Inshallah. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can you pray with nail paint on? I know there are many brands that claim nail polish to be halal. I don't know how valid it is. What is your opinion? Thank you.
The issue is, if it's before the wudu, then it's going to prevent the wudu and ghusl. So you're going to have your wudu or ghusl batil as a result. There's an obstacle on your skin or nails. And to perform the wudu, you have to remove them and pray. But if you have the wudu, there's no issue with it. You can put the polish,
fair, and
pray, that's fine.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I want to read a book, but I can't afford it. So I'll go online and search, for example, Harry Potter free book PDF, and a bunch of free sources and websites drop. And you can download them for free. Some claim to be online libraries and others just some random website. So the question is, can I download them? Books, software, music videos, movies, Even though I know that I am not paying the author or owner of the book its price, some call it piracy, or pirate books and software, stealing someone's haq rights. So am I allowed to download these books? Sheikhna, this is a question from WhatsApp, and it's in regards to downloading PDFs of books for free. Now, see, the person here saying, look, I'll go online, I search the book, and I get a free PDF and I read it. That person's not sure whether the website that has given the PDF has purchased it and has a license to distribute free PDFs. Secondly, I've seen a lot of websites that have free books for you to download because they're not the original copy that was printed. It was like the first draft or second draft, or there was mistakes or pages missing, and this one didn't make it, so they've changed it, and then they published the book, and is a different one available on paperback. This is a draft version, and so forth. So, are we allowed to actually download these PDFs?
Well, if the publisher has put some kind of copyright reserved as a part of the condition, which means you cannot give it away for free unless you purchase it, then of course you have to respect this copyright rule. You can't surpass it, you can just ignore it. And in overall, some ulama would say that you have to follow the rules and the regulations of that organization, which is the publishing organization. So you have to respect. And if it's like pirated, as you mentioned, then you have to buy the version which is eligible or allowed from the authentic source. Yeah.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I have very long hair, and when I wash my face during wudu, a lot of water splashes into my hair as well. How can I prevent that, and is my wudu still accepted? Jazakallah khairun. Okay, we're not sure if this is a male or a female, but it doesn't really matter in regards to that. But Sheikh, now, doing wudu, it happens even with my hair. When I'm washing the face like this, this part will get wet, these will get wet, and so forth. Is there an actual issue with that?
No, it should be fine. It's just that make sure that your head and both feet are dry for.
So doing the masah,
the masah and wiping.
The top part should
top
be
part
dry.
On both feet. Yeah.
Okay.
To be dry.
But it's okay if the sides get wet.
It's okay.
It's not a problem. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can I read Kitab al-Kafi? How do I understand it? Well, first of all, you might need to learn Arabic to get the real fruitful meaning of the hadith and so forth. And secondly, maybe a teacher as well, because hadith is not something easy for someone just to. It's not as easy as picking up reading hadith and that's it, I've understood it. Sometimes it needs a bit more explanation and a bit more understanding. But Sheikhna, can someone pick up Kitab al-Kafi and just start reading it?
I mean, nowadays we have sharh, which explains commentary on the Kitab al-Kafi, on the hadith. Yeah. So if you buy Kitab al-Kafi, make sure you buy with the sharh, with the commentary of some ulama we have.
Nice.
If you speak Arabic, of course, then that would help a lot. So buy with the sharh.
Fair. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Any advice about how we should act with family members who don't pray? Now, Sheikhna, with young family members, it's very easy. I always said this. If your parents pray and the elders in the family pray, the young ones, they see and they copy and they imitate, and they will also pray. But how when, if you're 12, 13, 14 years old and you're praying and you have elders in their 40s and 50s who don't pray, how can we, invite them to prayer and get them to, adopt this habit of praying 5 times a day?
Interestingly, I was watching one of the short clips on YouTube about, there was a famous Iraqi lecturer. He was mentioning this, that he had a friend who moved to Europe. He used to, the Sheikh used to lecture in Iraq.
Yes.
So his friend, when he was young, he moved to Europe. So he met him after a couple of years, and he said to him that when I moved to Europe, I left religion. No salah, no siyam, and I committed all the sins, na'udhu billah, that you can imagine. But what saved me and brought me back to Islam, once I was walking, as he said, in one of the European countries, and I saw the flag of Abi Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, and I was ashamed of myself that how could I commit all these sins while I'm from the land of Abi Abdullah salam, what he was butchered and killed. So he went inside that Majlis, Husseiniya, Wambarga, whatever it was, center, and he repented to Allah Azza wa Jal, and he got married, and alhamdulillah, he's got kids now.
Wow.
So again, Majalis Ahl Bayt, the mosque, the weekly gatherings, dua, salah, that would help a lot. When you distance yourself from the religion and the people of religion and faithfuls, that will be the result.
Fair, inshallah. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, dear Sheikhna. Is there a good dua to read during pregnancy? What an excellent question.
I can't remember now, but I'm sure there's something mentioned.
Quran is very good. Surah Yusuf, I think, is to help.
Yeah, but the dua, in particular, I can't remember at all.
Sheikh, I think we have a phone call. We're going to go over to the viewer, inshallah, and take their questions. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing there, brother? Are you okay?
I'm good, brother. Thank you.
Fantastic. Your question, please, for the Sheikh.
My question is, if you're ill, can you do like namaz or no?
Okay, can you say that again, please?
If you're ill, what can you do namaz or no? Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can't.
Thank you very much. And inshallah, the Sheikh will answer the question right now. Thank you very much. Sheikh, the question was, if you are ill, can you pray salah or not?
We have a narration which says that لا تترك الصلاة بحال. You cannot neglect or ignore prayer at any case. We have even some ulama would say that this means that even if you don't have, if you're faqid al-tahurain, as they say, which means you have no access to water to do the wudu, and even to the clay or let's say marble or sand to do the tayammum, and your body and because all najis. This happens to those who are in prison, for example, or let's say on the beds of hospitals in non-Muslim countries, no access to water to do the wudu, no tayammum, and they're fully najis. Even in that situation, you have to pray. Yeah. Because you cannot neglect, and it's not like fasting that if you travel, you can break your fast, open your fast. If you're ill, you can even open your fast and then make them late. Salah, you must pray it in anyhow. Yes. And even if you can't stand by sitting, otherwise you have to lay down and pray and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, my teachers used to say, the only excuse or the only way you can't pray is if you're dead. That's the only excuse that you can give. That I didn't pray the salah because I died. That's it. In every single case, you have to pray, no matter what. You haven't got wudu, all your clothes are najis, doesn't matter. Face the qibla and pray. And inshallah, you can make it up later on and so forth. Sure. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How can I pay khums to the marja if I'm from Italy and there is no Shia center here and I'm currently not able to travel due to financial problems? Jazakallah khairan. Sheikh, some people live in an area where there's no Husseiniya, there's no office of our Maraja and so forth. Maybe, I mean, online is an option, but if they can't, have access online, some countries don't. Third world countries, you can't pay online and things like that. How are they supposed to give their khums to the Maraja?
I mean, there are a couple of options. Number one, you can contact by phone the office of the Marja in Najaf or Qom and ask for the permission if you have yourself, let's say, some kind of charity organization, orphanage, people who are in need, Sada, Sayyids who are faqir, back in, let's say, home in Pakistan or India or Iraq, Iran. You can ask for the ijazah to pay them, but you have to ask this permission to be able to yourself pay this khumus to those who are in need. If you can't get that ijazah and permission, in this case, try to find nearest office of your marja in Europe, around the country, or even the same country, and give them the khumus, those who you trust, of course.
I mean, sometimes there's loads of organizations in the West here with ijaza for a start, and secondly, a bank account, sort numbers and account numbers and so forth, and you can easily make a transfer if you need to. From YouTube, Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum. Can one cover her head by wearing a simple wig to cover her hair instead of a normal hijab? This is very popular in the Jewish community, Sheikhna, but I don't think we're allowed in the madhab of the Ahlul Bayt to wear a wig to cover your hair.
Yes, indeed. It's part of the zina that Allah says, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. Do not reveal your beauty. That gives some kind of beauty to this woman. Again, people think that she is non-hijabi, Muslim woman, so not permissible. No.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I know someone who has intoxicated themselves with drugs and left all the goodness. Okay, we read that one. Another one is, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it true that women are not allowed to be jealous about husbands, just only men, according to the narration of Imam Ali alayhi salam?
You see, in overall, one should be wise and use the hikmah and maw'idh al-hasana when it comes to these issues and disputes. That I think my husband might have some kind of outside relationships, for example.
Not fair.
I mean, you have to be very wise. You have established as a marriage, as a household. You have now kids, for example, in some cases. So one should be very wise. You don't want to destroy and ruin your life and your family relationships and with your husband. So try to be patient. That's the advice.
Yeah.
To be patient with your husband. That's what given advice. As-sabr. Allah Azza wa Jalla would give, of course, the reward and thawab as a result of the sabr and patience, inshallah.
Sheikhna, we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue our discussion here on Ahkam SOS. It is now the perfect time to send in your questions while we have this break. Any question you have, send it on WhatsApp, Facebook Live, or on YouTube in the comment section. Inshallah, we'll join you after the break and continue our discussion. Assalamu alaikum.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars
permissible
at
to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it
individuals?
permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 09 2155.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures
Is
of
it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it
individuals?
permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 09 2155.
Yes, you can send in your questions via the WhatsApp number. It's there on the bottom. You can just scan the QR code, take you straight to the WhatsApp page. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, our technical team will send them to me. If you want to call in, 023 515 0199 if you are in the UK. And if you're outside the UK, just call the WhatsApp number, and inshallah, the technical team will put you through live to the studio. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum as-salam.
Sheikh, more and more questions are coming in. So let's go to this one. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I went to Umrah recently and I noticed through Islam puts great emphasis on mahram and na-mahram and parda. Why are women and men doing Umrah not separated? Oh, good question. So we have, a lot of in the Husayniyah, in Islamic events, majalis and so forth, always men separate, female separate, and so forth. But when it comes to Hajj, Umrah, doing Tawaf and so forth, why is it allowed to be mixed?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, that's part of Allah's testing for His ibad. He brought them all to this holy land, and they do Tawaf and Sa'i together next to each other to test you and me when it comes to the opposite gender mix in this holy land.
Yes.
Are you going to intentionally look or na'ud billah touch and so forth? Or are you going to basically prevent yourself from the acts of haram? It's to do with testing. Allah's testing the ibad in such a sensitive place on the earth.
Even when we go for ziyarah as well, I've seen it.
Same thing.
There's many
holy
women
places, yeah.
in the same entrance. Or
I mean, even in today's Islamic centers and mosques around UK, Europe, the world, still, when they come out, you can see the woman outside the Husayniyah or the mosque. So still, the testing is still applied, everywhere at any time.
From YouTube, is dua al-jaljalutiyya beneficial and authentic? I think I said it. I
I
hope I said
haven't
it
heard
right.
about this dua at all.
Jalutiyya.
I don't know about this.
Jaljalul.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay, never mind. If I keep forgetting how many prostrations I made, what should I do? That is from YouTube. Oof. Good question, because sujood is a rukn,
Yes.
and you have to do 2. If you do 1, salah is batil. If you do 3, salah is batil. So I'm not sure how many sujood I've done, Sheikh. Now, what do I do? Start the prayer again?
I mean, if he has a counter, he can actually count. So each sujood he would click the button, for example, or let's say move the sabha tasbih, one tasbih, second in the little beats, and somehow. Otherwise, if he goes toward this doubt, of course, if he repeats this doubt and again in the 3 consecutive salah, then of course he becomes frequent doubter, kathir al-shak, then he should basically ignore it and move on.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. From YouTube, do we need permission of our parents to visit the Ahlul Bayt in Iraq? I think for men it's not that necessary, but what about the females?
Towards your parents, to try to attain their pleasure and acceptance with this regard, especially if you go for ibadah. Try to and somehow please them. على كل حال. You're free to go, it's a ziyarah, journey, thawab, mustahab, but also it's encouraged to also could be sometimes wajib to please your parents as well.
Fair. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. I have cut on my finger, and when water goes on it, it breaks the healing. Is wudu al-jabira permissible here?
If there's continuous bleeding or the wound remains as it is, of course you can put plaster or a little bandage.
Yes.
And just wipe on it as a gentle wipe when you do the wudu, which is known as wudu al-jabir, as you mentioned.
From YouTube, does Allah talk to us in our hearts?
Allah would guide us. Yahdillah. So he would guide us in that. Some guidance,
From YouTube, about prayers, how to make up for the prayers one's missed during their past life.
I mean, if one can actually
calculate
how many days or months or years, then they can start slowly
them up.
As I've mentioned before, with each wajib salah, 5 daily prayers, pray an extra salah as well. So with salat fajr, pray.
Sheikh, what is the quickest way to do ghusl? Jazakallah khairun. Probably to jump in a river, but Sheikh,
dive in a swimming pool or a river or a sea.
It's called
with the intention.
Ghusl irtimasi?
Irtimasi, yeah. So immersion.
Yes.
Everything should be inside.
No, before you do it.
Yeah.
You make the niyyah.
You go inside the water and you have the niyyah. That few seconds.
Okay.
That all the water has reached your skin, all parts of the body, and that's
you are
within seconds. You're tahir. Yeah.
Ahsant. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is the quickest way? We did that one. How should I wipe my head in wudu?
Just has to.
I even heard we read in Alam al-Hilli's book, Tabsar Muta'allimin, that even if it's a finger like this way or this way, even you could hold.
Yeah, as long as
you can even do that.
As long as you move your hands on your head, little move, just little move, that should be fine.
It's not the case of all the way to
no.
Even back here. Also, it doesn't have to be on the scalp. It can even be on the hair.
On the hair, yeah.
It's fine. It's not an issue.
It's fine. Yes.
Wow. From WhatsApp, Salam, can you do taqleed of a marja who died years ago? Okay, Sheikhna, let's assume this is someone who's just become baligh and he wants to do taqleed of Sayyid Khoy, rahmatullah alayh. Is he allowed to do it?
The majority of the ulama would have the opinion that you cannot start doing the taqleed of the mayyit, of the deceased. You have to start to do the taqleed of the living marja, current marja who is living now. When he dies, then of course you can remain on his taqleed. If the next marja that you follow after this deceased marja allows for that, then you can remain on his taqleed, and you follow for the second marja your masail.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
As-salam.
Is it permissible to wipe multiple times your elbows and our feet during wudu? Elbows, I think, is okay. Feet, no.
It's just once, that's it. Just once.
Feet, so, I mean, when you pour the water onto your arm,
Yeah.
you can do this as much as you
Yeah,
want in
that's
one
fine,
direction.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can go as
exactly.
much as you want. There's no issue.
'Cause that's washing.
Yeah.
Wiping is
But
just once. That's it.
the feet can only be once.
it's
You
just
can't do
once,
it,
that's
do it
it,
more
yeah.
than that. From YouTube again, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
As-salam.
How do you start crying for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam?
Well, by listening to their masa'ib, the noha, the musiba, when you listen how the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal crushed Fatima between the door and the wall, and how she miscarried her fetus, Muhsin salamullah alayh.
Yes.
You can feel that. And how they killed her sons,
Yeah.
Hassan and Hussein salamullah.
It's also important that you must establish a connection and a relationship with the Ahlul Bayt. And yes, while you're young, it may not be that strong. You may not feel like crying, or you may not be able to understand. But as you get older and you mature, then you'll understand the calamities better. You'll understand the dialogue better. You'll understand the true cruelty that came upon the Ahlul Bayt. And you will have no reason but to cry. It will actually break your heart. There's so much beautiful poetry that's written for the Ahlul Bayt. And even their legacies and their stories and their history will break your heart, and the tears will come. Just be patient and just keep working on your relationship, and inshallah you'll definitely get there. From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
As-salam.
Is it allowed to enter a restaurant where there is alcohol in, but not on the table that we eat?
The forbiddenness or the hurma is when there's alcohol on the table and not in that location,
Yeah.
because we usually go and shop from major supermarkets
Yeah.
that they have an aisle for alcohol and pork meat, but we never go and buy from there, for example, from that aisle. We just go to the
But it's the
vegetable section and
same with
others.
restaurants. There's so
Yeah.
many restaurants out there, Sheikhna, famous ones that have halal food to cater for Muslims, but also they serve alcohol.
I mean,
and so forth.
I went with a friend to some restaurants a couple of years ago, and he was telling me they have haram, they have alcohol. So we skipped all the alcoholic, even though Muslims and they had halal food, but he was intentionally wanted to tell them that we don't eat from your restaurant because you have alcohol. You're sinning. So we went to a restaurant which had no alcohol at all, and we sat there and we ate. So sometimes for some kind of educating people, nahi al munkar, let's say, that we're not going to eat in your restaurant because you have alcohol. That could be a good idea, for example.
Fair. From WhatsApp, in Pakistani culture, they claim that we need permission from our mothers before we do the blessed acts such as tatbir and zanjir zani. Do we need permission to do tatbir and zanjir from them? Good question.
See, in overall, when it comes to the acts of rituals, mustahabbat, you want to go to Umrah, for example, you want to do Qurbani, for example, on back home in your country. There is no wilaya or authority over you by your mother, for example, to ask her permission. But always is good, again, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Be good towards the parents. Try to get their pleasure and acceptance. The hadith says that الجنة تحت أقدام الأمهات. The paradise is under the feet of your mothers. So try to get their pleasure and satisfaction, and I think you will win both as a result, inshallah. Her satisfaction and, of course, the mustahabbat acts as well.
More questions coming in, Sheikhna, from YouTube. What do you do if you thought you repeated the tasbihat al-arba thrice during the prayer when in actually you repeated it 4 times? I think that's in the 3rd and 4th rak'ah, isn't it? We do tasbih arba. So it's wajib to do it once. Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. You can wajib to do it once, 3 times is mustahab. What if I done it 4 times?
It should be 3 times. I mean, we have a hukum about adding or taking away of anything in the salah. So if you add an act, or you take away an act, for example, in the salah, you do 2 rak'ah of sajda sahu, 2 sajda sahu. So
So okay, in that instance they'll do that. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can a Shia pray with hands folded like the Sunni?
No, salah will be batil as a result. We cannot pray in this way.
I think His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, Hafidhullah, has a hukum to fold the hands, make sure salah batil.
Yes.
I think it's quite a famous one. He says, no, you are not allowed to fold your hands.
Exactly.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can you tell us where is Imam Mahdi, may Allah hasten his reappearance? Is he among us or far from people somewhere?
And overall, again, this is another secret in which he had to go to disappearance, as his mother's grave is now a secret and hidden from our knowledge. So, because Allah Azza wa Jal brought 13 ma'soom, 13 infallibles, and they were all killed as a result. From Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way to Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, they all were killed. So Allah kept this last hujjah so that He would bring him back to this world to fill the world with justice and fairness after it was filled with tyranny and oppression. That's the objective for this disappearance. Allah Azza wa Jal.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. How can I get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have ma'rifah of my Lord and keep my iman on a straight path?
Again, as I've said before, observing taqwa, to know what is wajib, to perform them, and what is haram, to refrain from them. And of course, to perform ibadah as well. Ibadah is very important, to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Do the extra bits, the surplus, mustahabbat, salatul layl, namaz al-shab, for example, reciting the ad'iyah and the Holy Quran on the nights of, or the eves of Friday, for example, Laylatul Jum'ah, for example. Attending the majalis of Ahlul Bayt, again, as I've mentioned before, the sessions of dua, Kumail, dua, nuzbah, very, very helpful for this individual.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Are Umrah and Hajj valid if one has not paid khums?
Of course, you have to. One of the conditions of the Hajj is to pay khums. You cannot go without the khums. That's an issue, yes. You make sure you have to pay khums.
And also, do we have to pay khums if we have debts such as university loan?
Debts are separate. You have khums, you have surplus money in one side. Let's say you have £5,000 of debts in this side and you have £2,000 cash in hand. You have to pay khums on this £2,000. Debts will remain. Yeah, unless you paid all this £2,000 on top of that before the time of the khums annual due date.
Fair. From YouTube, is Allah the most forgiving or no?
The Quran says, وَيَعْفُ عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. He would forgive a lot of many of the sins. غَفُورٌ Rahim and so forth.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Thanks for the answer. I was looking for a more detailed answer, like does he communicate with the layman or no? Does he only talk to religious scholars? Does he only talk to Shia scholars? I think this is in regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to us through our hearts.
Allah Azza wa Jal
talks to everybody, really.
Specifically spoke to Musa alayhi salam, kalimullah. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. He spoke to his messengers, specific ones. That's why Allah Azza wa Jal sent them to talk to people rather than talking to Allah Azza wa Jal, because we don't have that position and status to talk to Allah Azza wa Jal like Musa alayhi salam when he spoke to Allah Azza wa Jal.
Yes.
So we go to the messengers, to the imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we ask them, we talk to them. This is how it works,
But the other thing as well, Sheikhna, is that when Hazrat Musa alayhi salam spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that wasn't the voice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because
he created this voice.
He created a voice. Some said it was the voice of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a voice to speak to Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself doesn't have a voice.
Exactly.
Furthermore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has communicated to so many people in different ways. He communicated to the wife of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam through the angel Jibreel. He communicated to the mother of Musa to put the baby into the basket and into the river. Yes, with
so, like a revelation.
Wahi, sort of. Sometimes it's instinct, sometimes it's a dream, sometimes is verbal and so forth. I really believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can communicate with you in many different ways. But the main thing is that are you communicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then are you listening? And are your eyes open for the jawab, for the answer and the reply and the response from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the most best advice I have ever got in my life was, if you want to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, open the Quran. Read the Quran and read the verses as if they are talking to you directly. You know, and this is one of the best ways. Similar to where you do an istikhara, you know, open up a page, say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say, Ya Allah, please speak to me, talk to me. Open up a page and start reading and see what verses come and what they're trying to teach you and what they're trying to tell you. That's, you know, the best start I've ever got. What do you think, Sheikh?
Yes, indeed. I think you just mentioned now, there's this saying which says that if you want to speak to Allah Azza wa Jal, go and pray. You know, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم سبحان ربي الأعلى وحمده. So you talk to Allah Azza wa Jal, you speak to Him. And if you want to listen to what Allah wants to talk to you or says, then read the Holy Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته, for example. So read the Holy Quran and listen to the Holy Quran. That's how it works. Talking and listening, and vice versa.
Inshallah. Another question here from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. It is Christmas time here in the West and we are receiving cards. Am I allowed to write cards back to my friends who wish me Merry Christmas?
Yeah, there's no issue with it. It's fine.
Sheikhna, what do you think about using a Christmas card, to introduce Islam to people? For example, if someone sent me a Christmas card saying, you know, to Mohsin Shah, Merry Christmas, have a, you know, great Christmas and Happy New Year. And I was to respond to that saying, you know, Merry Christmas, and here is a ayah about Jesus Christ in the Quran, or here is an ayah about, you know, the Virgin Mary in the Quran, you know, and trying to create some sort of curiosity in them. Do you think it's a really good way for us to introduce the Quran, the Ahlul Bayt and Islam to the Christians?
Well, indeed, we have to use all the platforms and the methods and ways to spread Islam and deliver the message of the Holy Quran, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam to the world. We lack this kind of communication method, let's say, that we have to find out how we can reach in a wider spectrum and greater method as the Western world tries to spread their own agenda, education, media, and so forth. So we try to do the opposite as well, inshallah.
Fair. From WhatsApp, how to choose a marja from someone who is in Africa and can't know the most knowledgeable. It doesn't matter where you are, Sheikhna. If you're in Africa, if you're in Asia, America, South America, Antarctica, someone may not know who the most knowledgeable marja is and who to follow. So what advice do you have for those who are trying to find someone?
I mean, you have to look through those who have knowledge from the Maulanas in your local mosque, for example. If you have contacts with the brothers and mashayikh or sada in Najaf or Qom, try to ask them if they guide you towards somebody that you think and they think he is the most knowledgeable, and that should suffice, inshallah.
Final question, Sheikhna, from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. For prayers for someone that has passed away and never prayed, is it recommended to do all the rak'ah for each prayer or just 2 rak'ah for each prayer? Thank you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with you and everyone at IHTV. Thank you very much. Sheikhna, when praying for the deceased, let's say, you know, it is upon the eldest son of the father to make up for the missed prayers. Does he pray them exactly as they are? As in 2 rakat for Fajr, 4 rakat for Dhuhr, 4 for Asr, 3 for Maghrib, 4 for Isha? Or is it 2 rakat for Zuhr, 2 rakat for Asr, and then so forth?
Well, yes, indeed, as you mentioned, you have to pray as they were missed. اقضي ما فات كما فات, as in the narration, that make up the missed prayer as they were missed. So if it's 2 rak'ah of Fajr, 2 rak'ah of Fajr. If it's 3 rak'ah of Maghrib, 3 rak'ah of Maghrib. So you have to make sure that you make them accordingly. And you can pay somebody to do it as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Thank you to all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. We do apologize if we didn't answer your question. We had so many questions coming in. And furthermore, it is always better to WhatsApp us your question because sometimes YouTube does filter out questions depending on what has been written and so forth. So you're most likely to get your question answered if you WhatsApp it to us rather than from the comment sections of YouTube. Anyway, thank you to Sheikh, and thank you to all of you for joining us. Inshallah, Ahkam SOS will be back on Wednesday, 7 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV 3. You may not see me there though, because I'm off to Iraq, inshallah. I've been blessed to be visiting, and inshallah I'll remember all of you in my prayers. But until then, stay safe, inshallah. Taqabbal a'mal, taqabbal aza, and inshallah we will see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Herat, Afghanistan. In a dimly lit room, a young mother despairingly kindles a lantern. Casting a warm, flickering glow across the room,